Hello. In this webinar, we're going to talk about distance learning in terms of engagement. What are some things that you can do with your students to engage them more in the distance learning platform? So let's go ahead and get started. So one thing you want to make sure that you're doing is that you're engaging your students in some type of an assignment every day. That's related to your power standard. So we're going to talk about that in a second. So they should have an assignment that's organized every day. At the beginning of the week, they know what their expectations are. And there shouldn't just be assignments on the days in which you're doing a virtual Google Meet or meeting with them face to face. So they should be involved and engaged in their content every single day, just like they would normally do in a face to face class with you. So, what do I mean by priority standards? So, what you need to be looking at in the priority standards is what exactly are those standards that are most important for your students to know and understand. The Achieve the core folks, and if you look down here, there's links to each one in both Word format and PDF format. Took a look at standards from around March when we left for COVID. And then what are those major standards that we should really be concentrating on? So I know this is the Common Core standards, but they're very similar to the Louisiana standards and would be a great way, especially for math and ELA teachers, to really get a good feel for what are those priority standards. If you're not in these ELA and math sections, you know what your priority standards are, what you really want your students to know, what you need them to understand. So that's what we need to be concentrating on in the distance learning setting. You need to be looking for those things that are most important for our students to know and understand. So how do you go about creating your lessons? So creating your lessons are very similar to your regular teaching. Where you want to engage and hook the students and access their prior knowledge. Here's 12 steps from the Ditch That textbook. Folks that have got some great resources that I've used in several other webinars. But what's great about this, if you just spend some time looking at it, you'll see how it kind of just gives you an idea of, like, look at number 4, explain, fill in gaps in their understanding. We may have to do that a little bit more because of them losing out on time at the end of last year. So it's just a way, this is a great little 12-step to get you to get a feel for what are some things you should be thinking about when you're creating your lessons. Remember, distance learning lessons are not necessarily going to be exactly like what you would do face-to-face because you're not going to be seeing the students every single day. So let's talk about a few ways to maybe make your remote teaching a little bit more engaging. So you want to make sure that you're simplifying what you teach. So in other words, you're looking at exactly like I said earlier, what are those standards that are the priority? What are those standards that are the things that we really need to be concentrating on? And what you need to think is go kind of with the concept of the backwards design model. You need to think backwards on how you're going to model that with your kids. And think about small bite-sized learning activities. You can't be as complicated in distance learning because it's a lot for the kids to understand when you're not there right there every minute that they're working on their activity to actually give them assistance. So make sure that you have some clear laid out plans and some clear laid out expectations. Meet for briefer periods of time. Instead of just saying we're meeting for 50 minutes twice a week, meet with them for 25 minutes 2 or 3 times a week and have them go over the content that they have been working on independently beforehand. Talk about that a little bit in the video conferencing webinar. So it's sort of the concept of flipping your classroom. Games are another good way to engage your kids. They love Kahoot. There's a bunch of other games out there. I know some of you use Quiz and other ones like that. And there will be a couple of examples in this webinar as well. Design your lessons for participation. In other words, use Flipgrid. Make them go and explain things. Use things that make them have to engage, and it's not just doing an electronic worksheet and turning it in. They're having to think a little bit more. They're having to comprehend. They're having to give information a little bit more. Emphasize giving them the ability to be more autonomous and engage. And make sure you're using the correct tools. And look, you don't have to use 50 different tools. Find 2 or 3 educational technology tools that work for you and use those. Connect through your communication protocols with your students. Use your on-course classroom. Use your Google Classroom. Use those ways to make sure that they're understanding exactly what their expectations are. Organize your lessons and activities. Do that slide deck that says Monday, this is your assignment. Tuesday, this is your assignment. Wednesday, so-and-so. Use different other ways to just actually have them all log on 30 at a time, and then you just sit there and lecture to them. You're going to have problems with the connections and the hardware when you do that. Plus, it's really hard to engage them that way. And I love the last one. Teach for engagement, not coverage. You're looking at your priority standards. It's not a checklist thing on distance learning, just like it isn't face-to-face. How can you get those kids to interact and engage with their content? So here are a couple of different ways to engage and challenge your students. I thought these were great. Plan a virtual field trip, find a brain and mindful break, and love and show your class why. Use symbols only your students know for a secret code. Play games. Find positive ways to communicate. There's so many ways to make the distance learning engagement happen, and plus it also helps to build on your actual relationships with the kids. So if you need more information on that, the sources at the bottom of this slide, which you're going to have access to these slides. So please go to that source and read the whole blog on this. This was really well done, a nice blog on this information. So let's talk about a couple of engagement tools that you can use. There are so many we can go over, but we're going to stick to some of the ones that are paid for in West Baton Rouge. Plus, we know that we've had good experiences with in West Baton Rouge. Vocabulary is the first one. Vocabulary is for your middle and high school or upper elementary through. So you can click there for a self-guided tour on the tools. It's also connected through Clever. What I absolutely love about vocabulary is it's a lot of rap music. Kids love that stuff. Plus, they can go in and make their own rap about a topic. So if you have not checked out vocabulary, I strongly encourage all of you to do that. Brainpop is also a great go-to for us. One thing I think a lot of us don't know about Brainpop is how much they have built on Brainpop. We have access, depending on your grade level, to Brainpop, Brainpop Junior, and Brainpop ELL for your Spanish-speaking students. They can make movies, they can make maps, they can do all kind of different items with Brainpop. If you look here, these links will take you to a bunch of resources and activities for the kids to do. And also this very first one will take you to Brainpop 101, which will give you a really good overview of exactly what Brainpop has to offer. It's more than just videos now. It's amazing the resources that Brainpop has in here that you can use. Flipgrid. I can't say enough about Flipgrid. I think Flipgrid is free. It is one of the best free things out there. You can actually just set up your account and set up your classes. The kids can log in with their Google accounts. And then it's a great way for them to have conversations with you, check for understanding, conversations back and forth with each other over a topic. This educator's guide is like a 41-page document with a lot of great activities that you can use. And this is also a great way to have some of your kids that are in virtual class interact with kids that are in your face-to-face class, and they can get to know each other. In the event in January, your virtual students go back into the regular classroom. EdPuzzle is also another good one. EdPuzzle lets you take a video and then pause it and ask questions so you can check for understanding. You can get 20 of them for free. I wouldn't encourage you to do more than 20 a month. That's a whole lot of videos. And it's also a good way for you to kind of do those little dipstick checks to see how well the students are understanding and the content that they're interacting with. So let's talk about a few engaging online assignments. Make sure if you can connect things to reading aspects. News ELA has got some great connections there, even the free version. Also, you can deal with, it's got some information here on distance learning with News ELA and bridging the gap and making those connections with your curriculum. This is a good one to check out. You don't have to be an ELA teacher to appreciate this one and to use this one. One of my favorites is digital breakouts now. And there is an entire group here. If you go to the Ditch the Textbook, it'll also give you, it's all basically a list of 30 escape room ideas and how to do it and here's the step-by-step guide that you can make your own connections with. So the kids, instead of having their breakout box at school, they can do all of it digitally on Google Forms and different things like that. And it's really great so that you can still get those really deep, thought-provoking ideas out to them. This sandbox here, BreakoutEDU, is not free anymore, but this is a group here on this link that has listed out a variety of digital ones that they have created. If you go through here, you can see you can find different ones. I think there was one I found earlier. I can't remember exactly where it's at. Suffering for Suffrage. And you go straight to that website. And when you go to that website, everything is actually laid out for you, already done. These are all made by actual just teachers. So there's a lot here if you could go through, and you won't have to pay for them, that you could probably use. And these digital breakouts are already done. But keep in mind, we discussed, and I showed you earlier, you can create your own digital escape room by just going here. And this is a template. You can make yourself a copy of it. And it goes through, this is from Ditch the Textbook. And it goes through all the steps to make your very own, if you really want to get into making your own digital breakout. So those are really great ways to engage the kids. You know how engaged the kids are with regular breakouts. Digitals would be good for at home as well. I like this is a new one I found, and it's called Parlay. And you can get up to 12 round tables for free. And so basically it's a way for them to think of it this way, it's for them to do like a podcast conversation back and forth, and it's just audio and not necessarily with the video. So I thought that would be a good one especially if you have shyer students, that it might take a while for them to really kind of get into doing the Flipgrid. But also these two other links are great places for student-centered podcasts and other ideas on how to use audio for engagement. Backchanneling is still a great one. Yo Teach app is probably the one that is the most used now. Some of the other ones have closed down, but it's just basically the same thing. They can make their own room. This is a good low-impact way to kind of ask questions and have them talk about conversations, and then it goes away after a certain period of time. You can even have it go away by the end of the afternoon. Wakelet is my other absolute favorite, and a big shout out to Amanda Jones and Heather White of Livingston Parish, who did a fantastic job for one of our LeCue cares, and they have the recorded video there online if you would like to access that. This is their, if you click here, you will actually get to their presentation from in PDF from the LeCue Cares event. These two ladies are amazing with the work that they do with Wakelet and everything else with EdTech. If you would like to actually hear them go over all the information, then your best bet would be to go to the LeCue website and then go to the LeCue Cares after you have registered, and you can actually listen to the actual podcast. You can also, or webinar, excuse me. You can also click here and get an educator's guide to Wakelet. Take some time to look at Wakelet. Wakelet is a great resource, especially for distance learning. And these two ladies have done an amazing job with Wakelet. They're Wakelet ambassadors, and they really do a great job of showing us how we can use this to engage our students in the classroom. So a few more great teaching ideas. Choice boards are absolutely amazing. These are 3 that we went over earlier from slidesmania.com, which Slidesmania is amazing. But basically, remember, in a choice board, what you're doing is giving the kids an opportunity to do several different things. Maybe do a online comic, do a video, maybe do a Google Doc, and then they have to pick and choose which ones they want to use. Choice boards are great for distance learning. They're also great for assignments on content for the whole week. If you would like to talk to us a little bit more about choice boards, just give us a holler, email us, or go to the teacher help desk and put that in. And Stephanie and I would be more than happy to discuss choice boards with y'all. Infographics is another great way to have kids show their learning and get engaged. Here's 3 more down here, links to some different templates from slidesmania.com. So that way you can kind of step your students into the infographics, maybe just give them one of the slides to use and to fill out. But infographics is a really great way to have your students truly kind of understand what's going on with the content. And it also brings in numbers and that type of thing. Sketchnoting, love sketchnoting. Sketchnoting is a great way to get the kids to understand, and you could even still do Pass the Sketchnote. This is a blog on Pass the Sketchnote, which I think is a great one to check out. There's some videos on here, how to do Pass the Sketchnote. So basically, you present the kids with a certain concept, then they have to go back, and then once they go back, you're going to actually have them share, like start the image and then send it to the next student. And you could do this through your distance learning. And then they can actually do all this through Google Draw. So you don't even have to have them send something to each other through email. They can just collaborate together. Also, auto draw is another great one. Auto draw lets you actually go online. You can, it's kind of like an AI thing. And what they do is you can start building something, and then it kind of predicts what you're building. And then if you're like me and you're not so great, look up at the top what it does. Oh, look, I was trying to build a house and for a hut for my lesson on Indians. Here's one on like a Pueblo Indian hut. You can do bicycle. You can do anything. But what I love about this is it kind of helps predict sort of what you're trying to do, and you can add and change and design so that you can then have that built out and use that as a sketchnoting idea as well. A couple of other ideas. These are some other webinars that we've done over the summer. I'm just referencing you back to project-based learning, and this webinar and this slide deck has a lot of different ideas for engagement on it if you would like to go back and check out this one. Also, the virtual field trip has hyperdocs in it. has all of those really highly engaging things. We also have a great example of one that Jennifer Ogwin did on safety using a Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places We'll Go. Then also, what I also like about this one is virtual field trips are very engaging to kids. So they're stuck at home. They can't get out. This lets them kind of break down the walls of their houses and go into and find out more information. Stephanie's also done a great webinar on the top tips for distance learning, or tools, excuse me, for distance learning. So if you click on this, and there'll be some that we talked about, but if you go into this one that Stephanie has created, you're going to see a bunch of the top tips, and then and they're also broken down for you with quick tips, things to help you figure out how to use them. It's all laid out for you here. And so just so you know, we're in Louisiana, so you always have to have a little lagniappe for everything. So I love this idea, and I just wanted to add this in here. I love the idea of having a virtual Spirit Week. We do Spirit Weeks all the time with our kids. We do Fun Fridays with our kids. Do the same thing online. That's a great way to keep them engaged. If they get so many points, they get to have a Fun Friday game to play or something like that. Coordinate that with other virtual academy teachers at your school or across the district, and you could have a virtual Spirit Week and really get the kids involved and engaged in their activities. So as always, you know where to find us. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me. We're here to help you out. I'm hoping that these were some great engagement tips for you, and I'm looking forward to having more conversations with all of you on the best ways to engage your students. Thanks. Keep strong. You've got this.